Hey, it is Friday, February 6th. Man, this year is already, we're in it. We're in it to win it. 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on the West Coast. I am Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps, where we, as a collective of small business owners, in particular martial arts school owners, are just trying to figure out this thing called life. You know, we want to be happy. We want to be whole. We want to be free of our businesses. So we need to create systems, a team, and all those different components to make that happen. We need to make that happen. And I'm here to help you do that. But let's begin by thanking our sponsors, because without them, there'd be no show. Tucson Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. All people I work with. If you're curious about digital media, Kin Creative. You want bookkeeping, LC Accounting. You want a great life skills component, Kids Love Life Skills. You want a CRM system, My Studio. Website, Market Muscles, and martial arts supplies, Tucson. You know, we're also in the middle of weekly with our group mentoring program. I'm so happy because we're not consultants, we're mentors, and we get down with people, you know, and we really create these unique relationships. And I think that's the key to growth. Yeah, you work with a consultant. If you don't have a meaningful relationship, it's nothing. If you don't have a great mentor, it's nothing. And we like to hold ourselves at the highest levels of accountability. And I think that's the main investment in the relationship. So if you're curious about mentoring, which I believe every successful business person has mentors in their lives. Tony Robbins has worked with all these great athletes and people, you know, Franklin Covey. The list goes on and on. They're out there and you need one, right? You didn't learn martial arts by yourself. You got an instructor and, you know, you became a black belt and then you opened a school. Well, guess what? You need a business mentor. I can't express that enough. And it's amazing how people won't spend money on that at all. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. If I didn't have a great financial mentor, I would not be in the financial position I'm in today. If I did not have great business mentors, I would not be in the position I'm in today. Left to my own devices, you know, I would have been limited in the potential of what I could do and become. And I continue to be dedicated to investing in that part of myself personally and in my life. And I recommend every one of you do the same, especially if you're struggling. 75 to 100 students, you're struggling. You need a great mentor. But more importantly, you need to believe in it enough to create new habits and take action, right? You got to take action. And that's what it's all about. So where are we today, man? Well, everything we're going to talk about today is how do I put this mildly? People overlook core values because it's not like running a Facebook ad and the instant result is you get 5 students, right? Hypothetically. The thing about core values, you often don't see the impact it has on you, your team, your business, your community until it's tested. Okay? Until it's tested. Now, I've learned many moons ago studying Disney and Apple and Nike and companies like that purpose-driven companies survive tough times. Why? Because if you are simply a transactional business, a sales-based business, if it's a good economy, you do well. If it's a bad economy, you do poorly. It's that simple. But if you're a purpose-driven business, at times during challenges, hardships, people lean more into that belief than ever, right? More than ever. And it's the same thing here. For us, it was the pandemic, right? When that pandemic hit, we didn't know what was coming. We went from 1,000 students to 750 overnight. That's a big hit. Fortunately, you know, because of the culture that we have, people that believed in who we were, because our core values were exhibited, were demonstrated, were by example, living, breathing in our culture every day, people leaned into us. They found strength in us during the pandemic. And we were able to move 750 people online. They followed us into parks, in the rain. You know, it was crazy. Indoors in masks, and here we are. So we did not only survive because of our core values, it strengthened our relationships. Now, We all had team members we had to let go. They quit, they moved on. But my core people are still with me today. They're still with me today. And I'm very blessed and grateful for that. But it's because we shared values, right? We shared values. It's no different than church. Some people go to a Protestant church because of the values. They'll go to a Catholic church because of those values. And, they vary differently, right? But they find strength in those values. It's the same thing here. Cool. Hey, Bob, what's happening? Bob Pull the Gold Martial Arts. I forgot to mention that. As you come aboard, do say hello. Tell me who you are. Tell me where you're tuning in from. I love it when I know who's hanging out with me. I know people watch this after in the recording because it's convenient. But when you make the discipline, dedication, and habit like Mr. Bob Pull the Gold Martial Arts, I feel like, in the words of Michael Jackson, you are not alone, right? You're here with me. So I thank you, Bob. And Marco's holding up the back end. So I really recommend that you search your soul on this, because the minute I did, there was no instant gratification. It took a lot of deep soul search and ask myself, why? Why does somebody come to One Martial Arts versus Joe Karate down the street? Why? And if I can explain that clearly, right, with intent, with belief, the ability to get somebody to connect with you on an emotional level and at least sign up for a trial is there. So when I craft copy for King Creative and I'm writing, a particular script for an ad, it's all about creating an emotional connection. But it's all rooted in the core values that we share at Kin and the core values that we share at One Martial Arts. And you know what that is? Family. It's all about family. I grew up in my grandmother's coffee shops, right? Pushing a broom as a kid, later on learning to cook in there. I ran my family's martial arts school with my dad. When I opened my own businesses, my sisters have worked with me, my nephews. I'm big on family. Family to me is vital. And we all preach in our martial arts schools that we're a family environment, right? But are we really? Is that just something we say because it's trendy and hip and you got it at some seminar? Are you truly a family environment? Write that down. Hey, Art, what's happening, Art? We're truly a family environment. And in our core values, right? One of the biggest core values I think drives the success of our business is empathy. We seek to understand versus being understood, right? So let's say that. Write that one down, empathy. I believe every successful business or martial arts school should be empathetic. Because if I understand my demographic, I understand my avatar, I understand my team, I understand my parents, the kids, guess what? We're the go-to. They're understanding. That's why I like being here. I've heard that one often. So empathy, seek to understand. Okay? So when I was workshopping this with a group the other day on core values, we started with one. So I'm going to need your help on this, all right? Somebody post in the comments one of the core values in your school, and I'm going to share how you can play this one out. Post any one core value, right, that you think is important in your school. Anybody? And again, as you're coming aboard, say, hey, hey, hey. Say, hey, let me know that you're there. Good morning, Letitia from LC Accounting. Yeah. Again, if you need a great bookkeeper, just DM Letitia and she'll take good care of you. Very powerful. So it's one of the core values we live and die by in our businesses. Give me one. Nobody? Okay, courage. I like it. Courage, right? Courage, we define it, for me, is knowing that I'm afraid, but I don't allow that fear to stop me, right? Okay, great. So let's say courage is one of our core values. I take that and I create a brand absolute. Here we go. One of our brand absolutes at One Martial Arts is we always say hello when people walk through the door within 5 seconds. We greet them, we help them take attendance, and we tie their belt. Go to the next step. We're instructors in training now, okay? And we're sitting there with our new group, their average age from 14 all the way up until about 18. And using my other core value of empathy, I know for a fact it is very scary for a 14-year-old kid to stand at our front door and greet people and say, "Welcome to One Martial Arts. How you doing today? May I help you tie your belt and take attendance?" It is very hard. So here we go with courage, right? We understand empathy and courage working together, that it takes a lot of courage to, stand there and greet people, right? And every kid, even the 18-year-old's going, "Yep, I get it." So see, right there, we have a value, courage, and we've taken it and now I created a system, Art. I'm creating a system for them to have the courage to greet people at the front door by role playing and practicing it together. It's like anything. If they practice it, they'll have more courage when they get up there and actually do it. The yin to the yang of that is having the empathy to know you don't take a brand new person in your instructor's training and throw them to the wolves, right? And make them teach a full class. That's a great way to set people up for failure. You with me on that? So for me, I'm ever mindful that these core values shape the whole fabric of the way we behave, the way we operate, everything that we do. Everything that we do is from those core values. Why? Because we have a place to operate from. And I was working with a group yesterday and he kept using the word employees. And I said, "May I suggest you don't use the word employees anymore? They are your team." Right? Because the minute you call them employees, then you are the boss. And there's a separation of class, right? I'm the boss, I'm management, and you are the employees. Let's change that. If you want to have freedom from your business, they cannot be your employees, right? You don't employ them. You work with them side by side as a team, impacting lives, right? Growing that business together. You see where I'm going with that? So again, I think what I love about core values in their intent and their purpose, they really can shape the culture of a business and eliminate some of those stereotypes, those hierarchies of employees and boss. Oh man, anytime one of my team members said, would say, "This is my boss," I would say, no, my name's Brannon. I'm just part of the team at One Martial Arts. There's another core value, humility. Yeah, right? There we go, right? It's so easy to say, "I'm the boss, I'm the owner." Yeah, so what? If you're broke and your schools aren't growing and you're working 24 hours a day in that business, you go be the boss all you want, right? And be famous in your own mind. I enjoy freedom today and I'm grateful for it and I'm thankful for it. And I never take my team for granted. Oh, there's another core value, gratitude. See, so all these core values, gratitude, empathy, courage, humility that we just spoke of, right? And interwove into this conversation are all core values that shape One Martial Arts. So once you have a core value, let's go back to art and courage, right? We have courage, okay? Courage is my core value. Why? Tell me why. Take a moment, Art, and tell me why. Why is courage important to you? Because that's where it begins. A great brand I developed in both Germany and Florida was Believe Martial Arts. Now, the guy in Germany, we were sitting on a boat coming from Cozumel, going to Cancun, and we took 6 years for us to rebrand his school. Stay with me now. Yeah, he was a really famous kickboxer in Germany, so he named the dojo after him, and he felt that was the reason everybody came. But it topped out. He was no longer fighting anymore. He wasn't who he used to be, and he needed to change and rebrand and rethink his strategy, right? Because his name was no longer as big as it was because he wasn't fighting anymore. So the conversation went like this. Why did you enroll in martial arts? He goes, honestly, I used to get in a lot of trouble as a kid. And when the police would bring me home, my parents didn't believe me. The police didn't believe me, no matter what I said. I went into this martial arts school. My parents thought it would get me out of trouble. And what I enjoyed the most is the instructor believed in me. Thus, Believe Martial Arts, right? So there's the brand. Then I said, well, what did your instructor teach you? He taught me that everything is possible, that I could change, that I could be different, that I didn't have to get in trouble all the time. So there became his tagline, where everything is possible. Wow. What a great place to operate from. What a great place to operate from, right? Why do I want to bring my kid to you versus Joe Martial Arts down the street? Well, because here we will believe in him and we will teach him through support and martial arts and life skills. Everything is possible. Wow. Whoa. That's freaking Disney, right? That's exciting. I'm inspired. Then we go, okay, now we have to back up that. That's our brand message. Everything is possible here. So what is a core value we can implement to show this student that we believe in him and that everything is possible? Then you begin cultivating those core values to support your brand message. You with me? Okay, so let me see what Art has to say here. Without courage, you can't move forward into the future. Courage is the beginning of everything, right? Because even, it's kind of scary being here today for your first class, huh? Well, I know that too, but I'm going to ask you to have courage, right? And do your best anyways. There you go. See? So we took that core value and we worked it into talking to that intro. Yeah. But you got to have a clear why, and it's got to be meaningful. It's got to, appeal and jive with your demographic. And for us, it's families, right? It's families. And from that, so many things can come out of it. Like I just recently wrote a new script for Kin Creative where it started with, remember the hope that you felt the first time you looked into your child's eyes? Right? For all you parents out there, when your child was first born, wow. And then the script went on to say, that's why people bring their kids into martial arts. Because like that hope they had when they looked into their child's eyes, they hope they will learn confidence and be able to take care of themselves when the parent's not around. They hope that they'll develop focus so that they'll have a better life. They hope that they will become respectful and disciplined people so they can be balanced and happy. You see where I'm going with that? Right. So everything's about creating that emotional connection. Hey, Jesse, what's happening? How are you, sir? Jesse Pino out of Las Vegas. Good afternoon, Professor. Core value the team and I really believe in is we over me. I love it. We over me, right? I have a school in Livermore called Team Martial Arts. I like it. He should have that on a t-shirt, Jesse. We over me. I love it, right? So now, if that is one of your core values, we over me, right? Go a little more on that. We over me is a brand absolute, saying that the team is more valuable than just my own personal self, my stuff, right? I get that. We over me. Now, but if you have to pick a core value, it would be teamwork, right? Then over teamwork, one of our brand absolutes is we over me, right? Okay, so what does that mean in staff training? We over me, okay? Kids struggling or the kids acting up in class. Let's go a different direction. The kids acting up in class, right? It all becomes about me. I'm butt hurt. You make me look, I'm embarrassed. You're making me look bad as a teacher because you're disrespecting me and you're acting out. See, that's an example of me. So now if I was to write a system, Jesse, and turn it into we over me, what are some actionable steps I could teach this team to exemplify the brand absolute of we over me, which supports the core value of teamwork? Anybody? Come on, we're workshopping this together. What is it systematically I could write? Let's say this kid is acting out during a front kick. You're practicing a front kick, learning a front kick. Okay? He's acting out. And it's got to be we over me. And that really helps mentally because the instructor doesn't internalize it. I'm a crappy instructor. I can't get this kid, to do what I need him to do. All the parents are looking at me. I'm embarrassed. See, it's very easy for your team to go down that rabbit hole on a human level and make it all about themselves. That's very human, Jesse. So how do we counter that? How do we get the we over me, right? I love it. Core value, teamwork, brand absolute, we over me. Why do I want to bring my kid to you versus Joe Karate? Well, here at our school, we practice we over me. As a team, we can do it together. So it would never in our school be about the instructor. It will always be about the collective, right? The students working together. Boom. So give me an example. What are 3 actionable steps I can train systematically for my team during the warm-up if this kid is acting out? We over me. Go, anybody. We're all workshopping this together. I love this kind of work. Again, people go, well, how's it going to get me 10 new students? Well, I think it's going to improve your retention tremendously. Because once you have your clear core values and the brand absolutes that support it and the systems for the everyday actionable steps, then you can consistently deliver on your brand promise consistently. And consistency is one of the pathways to trust, right? I consistently hear your message. It's sang the same way, said the same way. I come into your school consistently. It's sang the same way. It's said the same way. I build trust. And for me, trust is the last true form of marketing. I really believe that. In the world of information, misinformation, disinformation, the lies have become the truth. I saw a study the other day that in 23 countries across the board, 75% believe what they see on the internet is questionable. It's questionable, right? All the time. And so people will blatantly, even more so today than ever, lie to your face. And everyone knows it's a lie. And they sit there and lie, right? And I won't get into that, but it's important that we are that beacon, right, of hope, of truth. And it takes a higher level of practice. And in the long run, your retention will improve. So, Bob, depending on how bad the misbehavior is, I could say to the child that I appreciate the enthusiasm and energy, but there's a time and place for everything. Let's save that energy for later in class. Sure, but I'm going to challenge that, Bob. It's about we, not me. I did this one day. I'm going to kid you not. It was just after school. It was a couple of days ago. I walked in out of nowhere, and the little kid said, "Hi, Professor," and he was dancing like this. So I said, "Hi, how are you doing today, Miss Lily?" And I did the same thing with her. And she was tickled pink because we connected, because it's about we, not me. No, I must be the stoic professor of the school, right? I'm the master. Da-da-da. No, I got as goofy and silly as the kid. So maybe if this kid is spinning, right? We call them spinners. You spin with them for a minute. Wow, that was really fun. But right now, we need to do jumping jacks. Can you do them like me? See, that's one that we employ all the time because, one, by copying them, even though it's not the best behavior for a second, by copying them, they feel a kinship. So once you copy them, they copy you and do the jumping jack. Everybody see that picture? And that would be an example of, I could create a drill for that, Jesse, in staff training. So it's we and not me, right? Because you feel, Bob, that it's not the time and place for it, right? And you stated that. I could say the child appreciated enthusiasm, but there's a time and place for everything. So right now is not the time and place. Not according to him. He needs a spin right now, right? Who knows? Maybe he's just being a kid or his ADHD or whatever. He's a spinner, right? It's not a matter of there's a time and place for everything. I'm spinning. I don't even know why, but I'm spinning, right? Because they're kids. They're freaking kids. And so there's a lot of ways to corral that and turn it into a positive. And if I say to Jesse's team, remember, it's about we, not me. And we do not take these things personally. We do not think this child is being disrespectful. We do not think this child is trying to make you look bad. No, what we want to do is include them because it's about we, right? Above me. See where I'm going with that, Jesse? And the band played on. But because, mirroring creates connection. Thank you, Art. Yep, mirroring creates connection. And write that one down. I think just off the subject a little bit, when a new student walks through the door with the parent, you need to mirror and match their energy. If that kid walks in really shy, I'm not going to jump in his face and go, "Hi, welcome to One Martial Arts. You ready to live your best life?" No, I'm going to get down on one knee. I even turn a little sideways with my head and go, "Hi, how you doing today, Johnny?" Yeah. And then you start the conversation that way. Yeah, mirror and matching the physicality creates connection. So again, with the spinner, right? And I want to go again with my brand absolute, it's we above me, then I need a systemable steps to give them, Jesse, so they can exemplify the we above me, which exemplifies the core value of teamwork. Everybody with me on that? Yeah, I mean, when you hear it like that, it makes a lot of sense. But to do that throughout everything in your business, from when they answer the phone to when somebody walks in the door to when a child's being challenged, that's the hardest part. Yet, that is the art. That is the art. Now, putting all the business and politics aside, a company like Apple is very consistent in that. Very consistent. Look at their stock today, 275 or something. They're very consistent in that understanding that if we have a strong why, we have a strong set of core values, and those core values turn into brand absolutes, and those brand absolutes are written into systems, and those systems are trained to the team, and they exemplify. Because why? Once I know that, I live, teach, and preach those core values, then I create this community that can be not only be impactful, but has sustainability, the ability to grow, and the bottom line, be profitable, right? I mean, because we're still in business when the day's done. But if I could be in business and make a lot of money doing good, that's a lot better than being some big drug dealer making lots of money killing and hurting people, right? You know what I mean? So, but a drug dealer has no need for core values. None of that works. I never saw, that mafia thing. It's about respect and loyalty. And man, the minute it gets rough, they all cut and run. And that eventually was a lot of the demise of the mafia and things of that nature. So we're in a very unique position. I think the challenge is we paint these core values up on the wall and they sit there like a facade. They're just a marketing guise, right? Not even a marketing tool, because it's not true, right? You simply have it up on the wall. You can't just simply say, we are about courage. No, you have to teach me how to exemplify that courage in every class, in every conversation. It has to be in my social media, my Google business page, my website. It needs to be at Facebook. It needs to be in any hard copy things I give out in the school. On and on and on. I know, right? I know. I just sat in a meeting at Kin, and they were talking about, setting up ManyChat in your Facebook and this and that. I'm going, man, still got so much work to do on my social media, but I'm committed to living my best life. That's our mantra. Live your best life. I am only living my best life if I'm learning. And I love learning all the time. And if that learning is going to impact me and fulfill my core value, right, of always being teachable, of always being able to learn, then it's going to influence my business and, of course, grow our school and increase our bottom line. They should all connect. There shouldn't be a separation of class, that my really spiritual kumbaya, life skill over here cannot translate into money. That's silly. That doesn't make any sense. But the core value by itself is pure. And I cultivate it from that sense, and then it manifests into impacting students, impacting lives, and impacting your bottom line. You with me on that? So I think that's the challenge a lot of times, is people separate a core value like courage from making money. It can't be the reason why courage is a core value, but there's no reason, if you do things right, Art, and you connect the dots right, that wonderful value, that core value of courage, which we all need throughout our lives, can bridge from courage to impact to profitability. I see it all day long in my businesses and businesses I work with, some of the greatest businesses in the world. I see it. And that's important. But again, if that core value is just, it's, reverse engineering, you go, this core value is going to make me a lot of money. You will never get to the heart and soul of that core value. You will never create brand absolutes that people believe in, nor the systems your team can get behind to implement it, right? Are you with me on that? So again, once we dispel that myth, working on core values just as much as you work on your curriculum, just as you work on, your Instagram, social media stuff, if it's done with that intent, yeah. I mean, the possibility is endless. It really is. Okay, give me another one. Pipe in on that too, Jesse. I like the we over me. Give me your thoughts of everything I've shared with you about that, right? So here's another core value that we all believe in, I believe, as humans. And that's, there's certain core values, I think. Integrity, to always do the right thing. Great. I know a couple of schools called integrity martial arts. All right. I have the courage to get in front of actual people. Good. I like that. Right. Yep. I think it's great. I have the courage to get in front of people. Beautiful. Integrity, to always do the right thing. I think that should be the core value of every company. Okay. To always do the right thing. The hard part is the right thing. See? And if we live that on a human level, the core value is simple. We know right from wrong, right? You don't steal from your neighbor. Oh, that makes sense to me. I don't think whether you're in China or, Rome or New York, that stealing from your neighbor is the right thing to do. Okay, cool. So what I love about to always do the right thing on the good side of it is it really has the strong ability to connect with other human beings. It really, really, really does. And, my bookkeeper has bended my ears. Somebody came back to us after the pandemic and said, I moved away. I still have 50 cards on this fitness kickboxing class card, which cost us about $1,600 or something. I cut a check and gave it to them because it's the right thing to do. That's it. Done day, right? Done day. It's a done day. So I was in Target the other day, right? I bought everything. We reeled the cart out to the lot and I had a freaking candy bar or something sitting in the bottom of the shopping cart. And I grabbed it and Braden said, no one's going to know. I said, no, let's go back in and pay for it. It's the right thing to do. And it's hard to do that when we're tired, when we're trying to make shortcuts, or again, if it's something so small. What is the right thing to do here? And I'll always say that to my team. When they bring a question to me, they bring a situation. What is the right thing to do here? Right? Just like Disney. Disney lived and died by this simple question. What do you think? So whether it was a creative team working on a film or somebody doing a ride or whatever, they would always say, what do you think? So again, because he was about imagination and creativity and he loved the different creative minds that surrounded him, it became a brand absolute to say, what do you think? And that I bet that what do you think was from the core value of creativity, right? You see where I'm going with this? And I know people think, oh man, there's not enough hours in the day. But if you're willing to do this real work and you're trying to grow a team and you can't afford to pay them a lot of money yet, and they believe in what you do, it's like a startup. They'll go to the mat for you. They'll stay with you and they'll work. I'm going to say, and I give, by the grace of God, my top people have been with me 15 years and longer now, because I have to consistently earn their trust by following our core values and being the best example of them. And it's about doing the right thing. Another example, I was supposed to do a profit share with my guys and it didn't work out. It just, on paper, it didn't happen. So they hadn't had raises in 2 years. Okay. I went back and gave them back pay. So that 4% a year they were supposed to get over the past 2 years, they both got their back pay. Why? It's the right thing to do. That's it, right? We thought we were going to go down this road of profit sharing and it didn't manifest itself. So I took accountability and I did the right thing. You with me? And I've got to say that, those little things may not be visible to the naked eye, but do I believe that's one of the reasons why they're still with me today? Yes, because they trust the core value of integrity to do the right thing. I will always be the best example of. Think about that. Could that improve your retention? Yes. Could that reduce the turnover of your team? Yes. Would that trickle down into your students and create loyalty? Yes. Will that improve your retention? Yes. But again, because it's not a Facebook ad, instant gratification, people don't see the merit and they don't take the time to work on these areas of their business. You with me? Please. I can't express it enough. When I saw our business, when I decided to get into the martial arts industry, and every seminar I went to was sales scripts, upgrades, built-in retail sales, testing fees. I just went, ew, I don't like that. I don't care if it's working or not. That's not the point, right? That's not the point. And that's what I'm trying to share with you. I don't care if it works or not, right? It's about what's right to me in my heart. Because how am I going to wake up every day and cultivate this business and grow it if I don't believe in it? And that's why a lot of businesses fail. They just follow some cookie cutter mentality. They have no say. They have no real belief system. They don't know why they're doing it other than to make money. And then they're challenged by that. So I can give you many examples of how I show up. And that's the big thing I want to share with you here. Art, if courage is one of those life skills, how do you show up every day and exemplify that courage? Jesse, how do you show up every day and exemplify we above me, right? Which is teamwork. How do we do that, right? I would write that down, pro and con. And if there's somewhere that's on the con side that you know you're not showing courage or you're not showing teamwork, take ownership, because that con, other than if it's a human error, is constantly canceling out the pros. That's going to stagnate your business. Does that make sense? One minute I show courage, next minute I don't. One minute I show courage, next minute I don't. You're wishy-washy. As much as I want to get you and trust you, it's hard to do that because you're constantly flipping, right? We've all heard that, right? It's a humanism. We're human beings are like that. Let's see what Jesse has to say. Oh, all golden knowledge, sir. Definitely going to apply to the systems for my team. Just as you mentioned, it's very important to turn the core value into an action you can see, hear, and feel on and off the mat. Yeah. And the only way to do that is to write a system, sir, and then have a way to train your team on it, because they are the brand ambassadors of not only your why and your purpose, but of those core values. And if we don't create systematic steps and train the team on it, there's always room for error, right? And inconsistencies. And then once we have those systems in place, we train again and 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 again. That's never ending. And something as simple as basic. Think of Chick-fil-A. What do they always say to you? It's my pleasure. Okay, right? The company is a Christian company. They close on Sundays. People laugh at them, how much money you're losing being closed on a Sunday, right? But I think they're one of the top fast food chains out there. Okay. I mean, see, whether I believe in them or not, that's their belief system. They believe in it so much, they close on Sunday. Think about that, right? Right? And they all systematically say, it's my pleasure. And that's what I'm saying is so unique about a brand. And when you can build that, I mean, I don't know if any of us can be an Apple or a Chick-fil-A, but if we can utilize 1% of their strategies and philosophies, I think it's going to impact our small mom and pop businesses tremendously in a good way. Well, what I'm challenged by is when people simply dismiss it and say, we're not a fast food place. I'm not asking you to be a fast food place, right? They'll even say to me, well, I'm not like you. I don't have 1,000 students. I'm not asking you to be like me. I'm just asking you on a human level, if you run your business with courage, or you run your business with teamwork, or you run your business with integrity through your every thought, word, and action, do you position yourself to be successful? I think so. Right? Art saying my character is worth more than any amount of money. Yeah, but I want you to challenge you on that, Art. Instead of saying my character is worth more than any amount of money, all right? I'm going to say my character is so valuable that it deserves to manifest itself into financial prosperity. How about that, Art? Write that down, Marco. Put it in there for me. Or you can pull the transcript. Give me the whole transcript after today's show, Marco, please. A lot of good stuff in here. And yeah, I mean, I look at the books I read, and I can tell you, entrepreneurial finance, enlightenment now, which is personal development. But make no mistake, right here, right? Phil Knight, Shoe Dog, the story of Nike. See that? So, in to be successful, in my core values, I got Phil Knight, I got personal development here, and I have finances, right? All books I've read, that sit here because I'll often reference things out of them. Okay. So it's the same thing here. And as I was sharing with one of my mentoring groups this week, that the work is never done. No, it's never done. No, the work is never done. Right. My comment was about the candy bar a while ago. Thank you, sir. And I can never sugarcoat that for people. I tell them the work is never done. Right? God, you should have been there, Marco, on the kin call today. I'm going, man, I need to do that. I don't do that. I need to do that. I need to do this. And, social media is a beast. And it's not something I'm going to farm out to a 16-year-old kid in my school because he understands how to push all the buttons on his phone, to set this thing up. No. I am the brand ambassador. I'm the architect of my business. I am the visionary. So it's up to me to cultivate these things, right? You have to keep feeding it. So, and that's the other thing in relationship to core values. You don't set it and forget it. Ever. Because at different times of your business and life and challenges and situations, a certain core value in heart and soul is foundationally solid. it doesn't change, right? It doesn't change. But everything that happens on top of it, it's got to move. Just like the foundations in Japan, there's a lot of earthquakes. They trust those foundations, but those foundations are fluid. They will flow if there's an earthquake, right? Same thing here. We're only as good as our foundation. If we have a weak foundation, we have no core values to operate on. Of course, we can't build anything on top of it. But if we build this very intricate foundation that's relevant to where we are, right? In this case, the volatility of earthquakes that exist, right? That exist in Japan, they can still, it's no excuse. They make this amazing foundation that's fluid. It's the same thing here. Courage will change for me sometimes. Sometimes I have to have the courage, right, to admit this project is dead. I need to move on from it. I'm not scared. I just have to admit it to myself, right? So courage is no longer about knowing that you're afraid of something and you do it anyways. No, it's just a simple acknowledgement. I need to move on from this project, right? Hey, Daniel, what's happening? Philippine. Yeah, what's happening, Philip? Yeah, I love the Shoe Dog book, right? It's so good. It's so cool, right? It's just super cool. But again, all the information that was offered to me in our industry at that time in the year 1999, 2000 was all about sales scripts, upgrades, black belt clubs. I saw terminology in Wikipedia, McDojo, black belt factory, because it was simply sales centric and there was no martial arts quality at all. Yeah. And that's scary when you can sit there and buy a franchise and you don't have a black belt. I spoke to somebody not too long ago. The poor guy put all his whole retirement into this thing, thinking it was going to be turnkey and generate him revenue in his old age. I felt so bad for him because all his retirement was gone and he had this school with no instructors and he couldn't teach because he wasn't even a martial artist. But it was sold to him that it would be some turnkey operation, right? And so I felt very bad for him, but I was helpless to change that for him. So when I saw all that stuff back then, it just didn't resonate with me. So a lot of the information I offer you is from outside our industry. But stay with me, please. And this is why I think the learning I offer you might be of more significance and value than your average bear. In the word of Yogi Bear, right? Is that I am a martial artist. I am a martial arts instructor. I am a successful small business owner. I am an entrepreneur. So I take that, and any information I bring to our martial arts industry will always be filtered through the core value of producing great martial artists, great people that can defend themselves, but still be great people, right? All those things. So any information I bring in is not just, hey, this is trendy. Let me tell you guys about this, put my stamp on it, right? And hope you believe in it. No, I run everything through the mill and I test it myself often, right? But I realize also what works for me may not work for you. So the art of what we do, I think as true mentors, is that we figure out your version of success and then we help you with that, right? But when we're discussing core values, I believe on a human level, we should all be grateful people. And that's helped a lot in my business, a lot. How many school learners call me up just like totally broken, bent out of shape when somebody quits? They're just like distraught, right? They're just so distraught. And I said, well, may I suggest gratitude? And they go, well, what do you mean gratitude? The student left me. I invested so much time into them and blah, 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 blah. And they left me. I said, they didn't leave you, sir. They just chose to do something differently. So gratitude for me and in our organization goes like this. I'm going to use a lead. I'm grateful if you look at a Facebook ad and do nothing. I'm grateful if you look at a Facebook ad and you opt in and do nothing. I'm grateful if you look at a Facebook ad, opt in and schedule a trial and not show up. I'm grateful. I'm grateful if you show up for the trial and don't convert. I'm grateful. I'm grateful if you do convert. I'm grateful if you stay for a month. I'm grateful if you leave after 3 months, because gratitude is a place we operate from that has nothing to do with getting students, losing students, making money, not making money. It's what we believe helps you live your best life. A grateful person is happier, more balanced, right? They're grateful for what they have versus what they don't have, on and on and on. And I share this a lot with my higher end clients that I've worked with because they're very money centric and they're unhappy, some of them. And when we have these conversations, it's really about, well, maybe you need to be a little more grateful. Well, what do you mean? Well, on the surface, most people's eyes, you have everything. You have financial success, the big house, the green Lamborghini, for the lack of a better one, all that. Yet you're unhappy. And you're unhappy because the core life skill of gratitude is not even part of your DNA right now. And if you can learn to be grateful, every psychological study has proven grateful people are happier. So let's practice that, right? To be thankful. And it is that way. That's why when you quit our school, because again, we have to live, teach, and preach this core value of gratitude, we send you a thank you postcard. Yeah. Thank you for allowing us to serve you. If you ever want to continue your martial arts journey, we'll be right here. There you go. No surveys, no exit, no call them into the office, refocus, recommit. And if they don't, tell them what a crappy parent they are. How can they let their child quit? We do none of it. None of it. That's a waste of time and energy. Because if they're breaking up with you that day, they broke up with you months ago. It's about you going back in and improving the student experience, maybe in month 1, month 2, month 3. And that's where we spend our time, money, and resources on. I'm always mining the data from the time they became a trial. What was that experience like? If they converted, what was that experience like? If they didn't convert, what was that experience like? What was day 1 of a first class after the trial? Month 1, month 2, month 3. That's where we're spending our time and effort. Because I believe that's the key. The key is not chasing that kid who's halfway out the door, the family that's halfway out the door, and guilting them and staying for a couple months longer. It's not. So again, because we do live from gratitude, I'm not going to sit there and badger a parent and do that. We don't even have offices in our school. So it's a moot point. Are you with me on that? And again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's our way of living our best life. We don't live our best life when we guilt people. We don't. We're not living our best life if we're coercing or convincing them to stay when truly they want to go. There's an example, and I deal with school owners like that every day who are so distraught when a student quits. Okay, it's human. A relationship's ending. You're breaking up. They're moving on. It's human to do that, but the core value of gratitude doesn't allow us to behave that way because we need to live, teach, and preach that core value of gratitude. Are you with me? And going about we above me, it's about we for me to say, thank you for allowing us to serve you. If you ever want to continue, we'll be right here. You with me on that? So see how this is all happening? I love the whole thing. And when I, read Shoe Dog, and you're going to love this. You're going to love this, Philip. I hired a guy out of Nike and worked with him for like 6 months. It was like $5,000 a month. But I'm going to tell you, that boy took me to school, and I had to drive an hour and a half once a week to sit in, a meeting, a boardroom with him, and he would school me on purpose and why and core values and all the things he had learned over the years when he was at Nike. It was just brilliant stuff. And I'm so grateful for that time because it allows me to bring it to you. Allows me to bring that to you. But I saw the writing on the wall. What happened? I had invested in a startup, and this guy was part of the startup. So I knew that was the bigger reason why this connection happened, right? How that connection happened. So I made sure that not I didn't take advantage of it, that I made sure I, got the most out of it. And the big thing was paying this guy for 6 months. Now, it was just an amazing experience. And I don't believe people will always be privy to that situation. So life is a series of missed opportunities, and I didn't miss out on that one. But I love bringing that to you. It's just hard when people say to me, Philip, we're not Nike. I'm not asking you to be Nike. I'm just saying let's borrow from their success, where they speak highly about purpose and values and culture and brand absolutes and systems to support that, and a team that believes that are going to go out there and, make sure those systems are implemented, right? See how it all connects? And that's the beautiful thing about it. I think it's amazing. I'm fascinated by it. I live by it. I think what's happened, though, when we talk about why and purpose, it's so trendy. It's a trendy thing. I think it's actually passed though. For a while, that was the big thing. Purpose, why? Purpose, why? It was hip. It was so trendy, right? It became this trendy thing and it lost its je ne sais quoi. It lost its true value because everybody and their mother was singing it in their sales ad to get you to sign up for the digital marketing or the consulting. And they didn't believe in any of it. They didn't, right? Yep, that's the one. Peter Drucker out of Harvard, right? Out of Harvard, Philip. I was privy to that too, sir. When I spoke at Harvard, that's what my talk was about. Borrowing from Peter Drucker, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I did a whole presentation on that at Harvard. Maybe I'll send you my deck for that if you want, Philip. Yeah, that to me is beautiful because I believe in culture. I know strategies are important and systems and KPIs and all that, but culture, trumps all that stuff. I really, really believe that. I do. And as you can hear it in my voice. So yeah, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Yes. And I think because I made that choice many years ago to dedicate myself to the small school owner, which is a much harder road to hoe. And at times there's not a lot of money in it because people don't have the money to spend, that if we can do that the whole industry is going to get better a lot faster. But I can't do the work for you, right? I hope it inspires you, but you're the one. You got to take action. And it's important that at the minimum, I tell you that. Now you can go back to opening the door, taking the money and teaching the classes and just leave it at that and do that at 30, do that at 40, do that at 50, do that at 60, do that at 70, do it at 80. I don't know about that, right? But unless you understand with all truth that you are no longer simply a martial arts instructor, you are a small business owner. Get the skill set to be a successful small business owner. And then at that point, get the skill set to becoming a really good entrepreneur, right? I was in jiu-jitsu years. I'm probably about a blue belt in entrepreneurship. So, I got a little ways to go, but I'm dedicated to learning. That's one of my core values. I'm a learner. I'm dedicated to learning, but I'm not a professional student. What does that mean? You go to school, get a bunch of stuff and never apply it. I'm a learner. I'm dedicated to learning because I take what fits my core values in learning and I apply it. I bring it into fruition. I bring it into actual steps. I write it into systems. We have pathways to train a team. And that's the freedom I enjoy today, right? It's because I created that environment of integrity to do the right thing by my team. And I know my team's some of the highest paid in our industry. I know that for a fact because I work with many, many school owners because it's the right thing to do. And in turn, I experience the freedom I have today. You with me? So again, I mean, they're just philosophies that I saw from Disney and Steve Jobs, right? Bill Gates even has some great philanthropy strategies that I would like to one day be able to emulate on a higher level and give back so much more. My motive is pure. My intent is right. But if you do nothing with this stuff, it doesn't matter. Cool? All right. So let's start wrapping this one up, Marco. And give me your takeaways. Put them in the comments. I love it. Thank you for everybody's input today. Art, Daniel, Philip, Bob, thank you. I love the input. That's why I'm grateful you choose to be here with me. I don't feel like I'm speaking into a void, that I get this wonderful feedback that you're offering me, right? I love it. So let's begin by thanking our sponsors, and please start putting your takeaways in there. I'd love to share them with everybody listening. We have Tucson, Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. All companies I work with, all people I trust and respect and love. And I think that's what gets us through the night. Because you take a software like My Studio, there's always updates. That's the earmark of great software. There are always updates, beta testing, all of that. But you know what? It's the people I believe in. That at the end of the day, they're going to keep producing this amazing product that long-term has, impacted my business. Same thing with Kin Creative. I've been working with that digital media company for 3 years now. Good kids, good people, doing amazing work in our industry. No AI generated ads, no generic messaging, no stock photos. It's a lot tougher road to hoe, but we're telling people stories in a way that's unequal, that nobody can touch us. Nobody can touch it. You position your business as something. Now, I could go on and on, right, about that. So thank you to all of my sponsors. I love you dearly, and I thank you for allowing me to speak freely and do what I do. Cool? All right. Trick is to take the good and leave the bad. Yeah, but the yin and yang, there would be no good without we had the reflection of bad, Art. That's the hard part with that about being human. How do I know what good is if I don't know what evil is? There's no hard without soft. There's no black without white. The contrast is what helps us know that this is black, this is white, right? So it's the same thing here. And I think when I do behave inappropriately, because I'm a human being, that I course correct quickly. I lean into my core values, and turn that into a win. Because I've watched people go down a rabbit hole and never come back, right? They get into the darkness and it's what they believe is their reality. And I say that, in a way, because again, I've been there personally in my younger years. I've worked with school owners right now that are in places financially and stuff that are pretty dark. And to help people out of that into the light, they need to know what that darkness is so they never want to be there again, right? They never want to be there again. And I know that's just off your comment, but I think it's a good one, sir. Yeah, we live on the shoulders of giants. Yeah, but I think better than that, we live on the shoulders of giants. We stand shoulder to shoulder with people of humility, of gratitude, of integrity, of courage, of teamwork. Yeah? Yeah? How about that one? Right? Because you are a giant yourself, Art. And when you recognize that, you're going to blow up there, sir. And I believe that, Art. I believe that. My mentoring group, me and Marco and Miss Monique and Jason, very proud. We're doing good work. But as I share, our dedication to the small school owner is unequaled, right? We have 14,000 licensed business registered martial arts schools in America, supposedly today. Yet, 20% of those schools are making 90% of the revenue. That's appalling. That's appalling. So I'm dedicated, for the lack of the better word, the hoi polloi, the common man, and our group is designed for that. But the hard part is you, the small school owner, has to recognize without great mentorship, you're probably going to always remain just that. You have to spend the money and get in there. And we try to do things that are reasonable, but make no mistake, you have to spend to get good quality work. It's like my dentist. I pay $5,000 for an implant. I have no problem with that, right? Yet people will spend money on digital media in our company, but they won't spend it on quality mentorship. Because I know you've been burned. You've worked with people and they've hurt you. So it's not a sales thing. It's just give us a chance. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Cool. All right. So where can they find me, Marco? They can find me everywhere, including on my walking pad. You like that, Philip? Because I do about 10 hours of Zoom a week. So here I am on a walking pad. It's the best thing ever. Find this Success Never Sleeps on your favorite podcast app. You see them all there: Apple, Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, iHeart, Stitcher. We're on all those platforms. Subscribe to my Instagram. Become part of our Disruptor group, Success Never Sleeps group. We have several groups out there that offer lots of valuable information. If you look at the files under the Disruptors, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of documentation and systems and things that can serve you well, right? But you have to have the gumption to go out there and do your homework. You with me? Cool. And then, of course, for everything else, find me at BrannonBeliso.com. So one of my core values is service. I am dedicated to service and serving people, whether it's my family, my team, my community. My dedication to service is unequaled. And I've always been that person. And I learned that from my grandma. My grandma would sit there. You come into her little coffee shop, which made, a modest living. And if you could pay for your food, you paid her. And if you couldn't, she still fed you anyways. I don't know how she did that, right? I don't know how she did that. I'm glad, Philip. I'm glad you were able to be here today, sir. Thank you for your contributions. And she taught me that. So I continue to serve to this day, whether there's a monetary gain or not, because it's one of my core values, service. And I believe the success of my businesses is because I serve my team, I serve my friends and families, I serve my community at the highest level, and the result is you get it back tenfold. So think about that. Cool. Hey, I'm Brannon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, please, please, please Go out there, live your best life.